What's going on, traders? Sandra O'Connell here with Pristine Capital, coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is February 22nd, 2022. Please go ahead, click the like button on this video. Also go ahead and subscribe to my channel, that way you don't miss any of my future videos. Today we're going to talk about this wild price action yet again. More Russia and Ukraine headlines, another Biden address. Before we do that, let's go through our quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in the video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account to any one of my trades or anyone's trades for that matter. All right, box scores. So we had another roller coaster day where there were certain points where we were trading. Well, first of all, let's back up. In the overnight session, we were down. Last time when futures opened, we were down about like 1.7% at one point. We hit a crazy overnight low of about like 42.60 on the S&P 500. And for today's session, we really just went back and forth from falling off a cliff to trading positive, back to falling off a cliff. So let's go through all this action. Box scores. S&P 500 negative 1.07%. Now we're in correction territory where the market is down 10% plus. Nasdaq QQQ is down 1% flat. IWM small caps down 1.41%. Dogs of the Dow down 1.46%. And we had the ARK Innovation ETF down 2.18%, which was our worst performer. Volatility on all of these indices closed higher but did not close on the highs. And you can see most of these indices closed in the lower third of their daily trading range. Breadth was very bad throughout the session. At one point, this flipped decisively positive, but by the close, you can see we had under 30% advancers across all of these indices. So not a good day of price action. Finviz heat map. You can see a lot of these mega cap tech stocks continue to sell off, such as Tesla down 4.14%. On the lows, it was down a good like 6 to 7%. Apple just couldn't really get its footing today. There were times where it looked like it was attempting to stage a rally, but this was one of my tells that I was like, unless Apple really gets going. Apple makes up about 6.5% of the S&P 500. So if it's not moving, it's literally impossible or close to impossible to get a good strong move in the indices. Microsoft basically flat, which is pretty good considering all these other names. AMD got an analyst upgrade, and that one was actually trading positive. But you can see it was slim pickings. Even energy closed down on the session. You can see like ExxonMobil, Chevron, those names were all down. The only bright spot that I see in terms of a specific group is some of these medical devices names were positive. But yeah, overall, just a very weak session. Sectors. Really nothing was spared. You can see, yeah, other than medical devices, which are up 0.67%, we had a bloodbath across the board. And a lot of these sectors that were starting to gain some momentum, such as cannabis names down 3.91%, Chinese equities down 4.24%, the ARK Innovation ETF, already talked about that. That one was down. So yeah, nothing was really spared. Healthcare was only down 0.25%. Financials were only down 0.51%, but some broad-based market weakness today. Style factors, same deal. High div, low vol was only down 0.11%. Our worst performers were high beta stocks down 1.66%, and you can see cyclicals and growth were both down 1.33%. So yeah, there's no like theme, no positive here, no, oh, there's a rotation from this into this. This was just another day of a sell-off. All right, let's take a look at our headline indices. And we'll go through all these charts. We'll touch on the VIX as well, and we'll touch on the only trade that I did today. So S&P 500, this is where things get interesting. So I mentioned this earlier, how in the overnight session, we made a low of about 42, yeah, it's about 42.50 on the S&P 500. These are our ES futures. This pretty much coincides with the late January lows. Of course, we did have this big flush out on the 24th to about, pretty close to 4,200, but for the most part, yeah, the lows were made at around 42.60. So overnight, we tested those lows and we had a very nice bounce. So by the time we came in for the session, I was like, hey, the market, we're well off the lows. Geez, we overcame that. Dip buyer stepped in. Hey, we might be in a good spot for today's action. But you can see we clearly were not. So yeah, this was the overnight session where we made that low. And then you can see around 3 o'clock in the morning, this was where we got the push to the upside that continued around 5 o'clock a.m. From there, in the pre-market, we just moved sideways. And then you can see from 10 o'clock on, it was just continuous selling. So we just had 4 hours of heavy selling pressure. Then Biden spoke at around 2 o'clock p.m. about the Russia situation. And he pretty much said, hey, we're putting sanctions on Russia, on all of the officials, etc. We're going to be united in our approach to handling it. And that was basically the main gist of his speech. As he was giving that speech, the market bottomed and we had a nice push to the upside. And it was like, okay, we made these lows. We retested the lows. So, hey, if we're rejecting them, maybe we can get a nice auction to the upside. But you can see we couldn't even manage to stay afloat. And sellers immediately stepped in and any strength that we had intraday was sold off. So where are we into the close? Into the final bell, you can see the SPY ETF closed down 1.07%. But after the bell, there was some nice buying that occurred. So these S&P 500 futures, they're only down 0.68%. So a little bit of a nuance there. And when we zoom out to our daily chart, we just held the bottom of this monthly value area. So there is a glass half full approach here, where you can say, hey, we retested the lows from late January. We had every reason to slip into the abyss. We tested them for a second time later in the session. And again, buyers stepped in and auctioned us off of those lows. So this could really be a nice durable bottom from which we can stage a nice bounce in the market. But on the other hand, every time we attempted to bounce, there was some selling that came in. So I think this is really one of those like to be continued situations. We don't have a strong confirmation that this leg of the sell-off is over. Albeit this would be a perfect spot for that to occur. Because again, we have those 2 washouts and we held this bottom of value. So it's one of those to be continued sessions. Look at the high volume that occurred on this sell-off. And I think this is really just setting the stage for tomorrow. Can we get a bounce, or do we actually just, for a third time, retest these lows? Let's take a look at our Nasdaq. Yeah, look at this. Nasdaq only finished down 0.44%, including the move in the after hours. So yeah, after hours there was a nice rally for that like 15 or 20 minutes. And the Nasdaq put in a doji candle. So after all of that fuss, all of that back and forth, just a doji. And you can see the Nasdaq actually undercut the lows from January. Let's take a look at the Russell 2000. Russell 2000 also rallied in the after hours from down 1.41%. Now this Russell futures contract is trading only down 0.85%. We lost the monthly points of control. Or actually, we had lost that on Friday, but we confirmed that, hey, we lost that level. We're below these key moving averages. But the Russell 2000 did not get anywhere near as close to the January lows as some of these other indices did. So again, you can see that as a glass half full approach. Let's take a look here at our Dow Jones. And the Dow Jones actually did lose this bottom of value. And this one got pretty close to sweeping the lows from late January. So overall, my trend model is still at a -3. And for that reason, I'm making sure that I hold a nice cash buffer in my portfolio. Because as of right now, we don't have any sort of confirmation that any of this selling is over. So let's take a look. The one trade that I did put on today, I did get long some MP calls because I was seeing that there was some nice relative strength in Mountain Pass. So let's take a look here. Yeah, this was the only action that I took, and I took this as Biden was speaking. MP, they actually just got a government contract that was announced today. So his name was showing some nice relative strength. Let's take a look at MP. And this one was trying to go positive while a lot of other names in the headline indices were really languishing. This one, it did not have a firm close though. So I'll likely be closing these out either for a stop out or for a profit come tomorrow's session, because this name does report earnings on the 24th after the market close. So yeah, MP made an attempt on that, and that really just goes to show the character of this market, where you make an attempt at something, it tries to stage a rally, but then just can't really get it done. But it does look like we are trading higher in the after hours. That same pattern that was the case for all those headline indices, it looks like it's occurring in some individual names as well. So MP, again, the after hours got a little bit of a boost here. Yeah, we'll have to see how that one goes. For the most part, I was really just observing the action today, because again, this was like, my mentality was like, this could be the day where we really just carve out a violent bottom and we start to move to the upside. That could still be the case. This was such a violent washout today that theory, we can't discount it. Like even now, the indices are still rallying. S&P 500 is now only down 0.62%. Anyway, that's to be continued. We will have to see tomorrow. As of right now, there's no confirmation. Oh, real quick, before we move on here, let's just take a quick look at the VIX. And so here's what I'm looking for moving forward. So check this out. And yeah, by the way, I did switch my candles to pink. It's just more visually appealing, and the red actually incites emotions for the person that is looking at it. So the pink is just a better color. So yeah, the VIX, it just cannot break below this like 28 to 30 level. You can see it closed out at 28.81. The VIX got as high as about 32. And it is a good thing that we closed on the lows for the VIX, but the VIX still closed positive. So if you see we get a bounce tomorrow, but the VIX just still won't break below that 28 threshold, that's where you know the bounce is a little suspect. So yeah, we have to start seeing the VIX come down, but there's just this relentless bid for near-term protection right now. And that tells us we're still in the heart of this vol event. But that red candle, definitely a good sign for now. So I think you can make an argument that this was like a final washout, then maybe we do get something in the way of a bounce. All right, let's take a quick look at our VigTech order flow here. And we'll take a look at today's combined flow. And we have some SPY flow, some Tesla flow. Let's check this out. Okay, so SPY is actually ahead of Tesla. Okay, let's see what we got here. So yeah, SPY did close out with the most flow. A bunch of flow for this DWAC as well. Let's take a look at our matrix and we'll look at our tradescape. So let's take these filters off. And let's just take a quick and dirty look here. So SPXW, mixture of calls and puts. SPY. Yeah, sea of puts coming down. So at some point, if everyone continues to get hedged, you can only buy so many put options before the market starts to reverse here. Yeah, Facebook, you can see a lot of put activity as well, and in the Qs as well. So yeah, heavy levels of put buying. The dark index should be coming out later tonight. And that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you guys were all able to manage throughout the day, and hope everyone was able to keep their composure. I think that's the most important thing in a market like this. If you don't really have anything like that's hitting a stop or that you need to trade out of, and you're just sitting, you have your cash balance sitting there waiting to be deployed, and you don't really see like an immediate action to take, it's tough to just like stare at the screen all day and like you're seeing the market gyrate point by point, especially when the market's so volatile. So yeah, always make sure you're getting up from the desk and you're not getting burnt out, just kind of waiting for the market to turn. It's always important, we can't really impose our will on the market. We really just have to wait for the market to turn for us. Would you look at that? Now we're only down 0.56%. So I'll leave off on that positive note. Hope everyone has a great evening, and I will see you all tomorrow.